Hello, my name's Andrew Pancholi and I'm from the Market Timing Report and Cycles Analysis. And what we do is we look at how events occur and recur. And whilst we primarily focus on the markets and geopolitics, I've done this video because I appreciate that we're in a time of crisis. And I want to give you some background information so that you understand what's going on and you can see the things that we see. I hope that this then gives you some ideas on how we can all work together to come through this together. And so let's take a look at some of the factors that are coming in and the mathematical patterns that recur in human behavior and nature. And that's what's coming together right now. So we're in a crisis here. It's 2020. And what I'm going to take you through is some patterns to help you understand why we're here and also to give you some hope and some shine a light on the fact that we will come out of this. So what we look at, and we've looked at time and time again, and we continue to do so, is that human behavior moves in cycles and mathematical patterns, and events recur in patterns as well. They follow time cycles, as you're about to see. And when these cycles come together, bigger events occur, and that's exactly what's been happening. And this can be forecast, and in fact, that is our core business. We have been warning people about this over the last several years. But it doesn't matter about that. I want you to look at this. This is here to show you why everything's come together or how everything's come together, and also to shine some light on how we can get through this and remember that we will come out of this intense crisis that we're in. I'm going to start off with virus cycles. And what we see here is that we're here we're actually in March 2020 now, and the first reports of this COVID-19 coronavirus came from China at the very end of December. So it's obviously been proliferating in China back in December 2019, probably slightly before that. Now, if we go back and we look at a particular cycle, it's around about 18 years. It can be plus or minus, and cycles in human events are slightly fuzzy, where they're more precise in commodity markets and other things. But this is the same sort of principle. If we go back 18 years, it's roughly 18.6 years. It takes us back to November 2002. 18 years, and we had SARS break out in the Far East in Singapore, and that was again very, very big at the time, although we far exceeded the number of deaths with COVID-19. And go back again the same time cycle, and around about this sort of 18 to 18.6 year cycle, AIDS and HIV was proliferating. So we've got these double cycles coming together, and two of those together make a 36 year cycle, which is why this is a little bit more potent. And then you can go back another cycle of around about 18 years. It's actually slightly fuzzy here, and that takes us back to Asian flu. So this is why we've got the virus cycles coming together, and predictively, obviously, you would look ahead another 18 years, but that's not the purpose of this video. So that's the first point, is the virus cycles have come together. Now, this has impacted the world. The COVID-19 coronavirus has impacted the world, and it's taken its toll on the stock market. That's common knowledge now. We've got a big crash that's going in. Obviously, we're going to get a bit of a pullback at the moment at the time of filming, but we are really peaking out here in the stock market. We have peaked out this last 2 to 3 weeks, and the reason is we're in a 90-year cycle from the 1929 crash. And then you can go back another 90 years to 1839, and there was a massive crash between 1837 and 42. These are significant economic cycles, and they do occur in these patterns. So the 90-year cycle is very important in human behavior. You'll see it across a lot of historic events repeating at 90-year intervals. Again, outside the remit of this video. And I just want to show you that this is what's been coming in. We have been forewarning people about this for the last 5 years, and we also wrote a book called 0 Hour about this. So that's a cycle crash that's in. Let's just think about this. 1929, the crash came in September. 3rd of September was the high, and the crash followed in October. So when you look at a 90-year cycle, we're only 2 or 3 months. We're not even that really out of tolerance. And that went on to have an economic slowdown that lasted into July 1932. So we are in a situation where there is going to be a bit of an economic slowdown. I don't think it's going to be fixed overnight. It might take a year or so, or maybe a couple of years, but it is a big cycle. And then, if you look back, there was a similar thing. 1929 was a 90-year cycle on from 1837, which saw a big crash. And this was due to over-expansion in the canal building industry around the Great Lakes and land boom and so on in America, and similar things were happening in Britain as well. So these cycles sort of repeat like this, and it is this long-range view that gives us the ability to see these things, and we are here now. So these are the factors that are coming together. We can also look at the half points of these cycles, and here you'll see going back, so we've got a 90-year cycle each time. So two 90s are 180. And if we move forward 45 years each time, 1884 had a panic that was to do with precious metals. And we move forward into 1929. We move forward into 1974. So this was the halfway point between 1929 and where we are now, late 2019 would be the exact point. And we're into 2020 with the market crash. Now, the thing about this 1974, and let me just give you a different chart here, this is what's called a logarithmic chart. So this shows the magnitude of the 29 crash, and we're up here. We're actually just up here. I haven't actually put that in there at the minute. I just want to show you this as the midpoint between 2019. But the 1974 crash created a big low, and that was due to an oil crisis. Okay, can you see how history repeats? The OPEC Arab oil crisis took place then. So this is why we look at these. So we can argue we're 45 years on from the Arab OPEC oil crisis. That's exactly what's happened within the last week. A week ago today, the price of oil absolutely collapsed. And that was 45 years on again from the 1929 high. Now I want to move on to China. And this is why China's in play. Last year, we saw that we were in the 30-year anniversary from Tiananmen Square. Why am I referring to 2019? Because that's when COVID-19 came out as well. But let's just go back. We were 30 years on from the student uprising in Tiananmen Square. Tens of thousands were killed within China. There was a degree of repression. But you go back another 30 years and you get to the Tibetan uprising against China. That was quite a big event with a lot of bad feeling there. And then so we've gone 30, and we can go another 60 back to here. And 1899, China was in a situation of conflict with the Boxer Rebellion as well. So you can see arguing 120 years in, 60 years in, and also 30 years in, all meant that these big cycles were coming together for China. Now, I'm going to come to another cycle in a minute, but this started last year with Hong Kong, and then it culminated with the COVID-19. And also, there's another cycle which we call the revolutionary cycle. It's 82 to 84 years, and that, if you go back in that cycle, that came out in 2019, and that was the Long March and basically the rise of Mao Zedong and the modern day China that we have. So we had the revolutionary cycle fitting in with these other cycles as well. And that is why China was such an important point in geopolitical events. So 2020, we're seeing basically Hong Kong, which has now dropped out of the headlines, and because COVID-19 has overpowered everything, not just China, but it started in China because these were the cycles that were coming together. And that's why 2020 is seeing that. So what we're really seeing is that we had the big 90 and 180 year and 45 year cycles in the stock market coming in. We also had the 30, 60, 120 and 82 to 84 year cycles in China coming in. And we've also seen these 1836 year cycles coming in viruses. And they've all come together. That's the whole point, is that all these things came in together in 2020, and that's why we're in this big crisis. So I hope this is giving you a bit of understanding. These events occur, and if it helps you to understand that these events are occurring because three big sets of cycles came together, then that will just help you hopefully just understand where we're at. And let's just go into a little bit more detail on this now. And so COVID-19, right, this becomes a reality by the end of March, so the next few weeks really, and that's becoming evident. I'm in Britain. We've had 30 deaths so far, but this is going to start accelerating. I think America's also going to really feel this, and this is because this virus became known at the end of December, and if we move one season 3 months on from that, basically that's where you see this thing sort of take hold. And then you move on another season, and that effectively takes us to late August, September, and that's going to be an important turning point. And that's probably a point where the things will come under control. I know that's probably a bit further away than most people want to hear, but probably from the end of March into late August, September will be a crisis period, really, because everything moves in seasons, as it were. So the stock market, that's slightly different. That's a longer process. We did see a very long cycle coming in there, the 90-year cycle, the 180-year cycle. It's going to be a longer process to recover from this economically, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. I mean, in the short term, we will almost certainly see market rises as governments intervene and hope is brought back and so on. But these things just don't correct overnight, so that's going to take a little while. Another point I want to bring in is there is a lot of fear in the world right now. And this also moves in the same 18.6 year cycle. And the easiest way to explain it for most of you is to say, just head back 18.6 years. It's March. So 18 and a half years, rather. 18 and a half years, 18 years, 6 months. From March 2020, and that takes you to September 9/11, 2011. And what happened there was a huge fear after those attacks. We all felt every city was going to be attacked by an aircraft. Airline stocks plummeted, and that's exactly what's happened here. There's global fear, and that impacts the airlines. So that is another feature. So the point is that fear cycles repeat. And if you go back another 18.6 years, I'm not going to cover it, but there are different parts of the world where in heightened states of fear, and Britain was going into the Falklands crisis and so on and things like that. But that's another story. So just to say that we are in these cycles, and the reason I'm putting this video out now is because many of us are in a fearful state, and the idea is to show that these cycles do come and then they do subside as well. So that's the purpose of using cycles. You know, we are not in a good place right now, but it will get better and we will recover. We talked about seasons just now, how we're basically the first 3 months is spring, and so with regards to the COVID-19, basically spring cycle season really started from late December, and we're coming to the end of spring now into summer. Well, the bad news with summer is things tend to grow quite quickly and sort of proliferate. So that's why the next 3 months are going to be critical, and then after that we will look at basically leaving summer into autumn, and that's likely to be a peak. So that's why we talk about seasons, and then after that point winter follows, and that's when things will clear up, and of course then all of us will work together and look forward to the next spring when things definitely will get better. So we have to understand we are in a state of very critical conditions, but they will improve in a few months' time. So it's very important we all stay positive. We look forward. Staying positive is a mindset. There's a lot to this. Perhaps one of the easiest books to get hold of is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and it just talks about mindset and staying positive and achieving your goals. Well, our goal here now at this point is to get out of this situation as safely as possible. We are all going to get hit. Some of us are going to be ill. Some of us are going to have lost a lot economically. But stay positive and look forward. Help yourself and help others. It isn't going to be easy, but remember, everything moves in cycles. So I hope this video is helpful to you, and that it gives you a bit of understanding into why this is happening. It's not going to resolve the situations. We've still got to live through them, but it might help you understand why we're here, and it might offer you some hope as to the fact we are going to come out of these. Just remember, everything does move in cycles, and after winter comes spring. I'd like you to share this with as many people as possible, just to give people hope and ask them to stay positive and stay focused, and let's go and help as many people as we can. And as I say, usually our business focuses on financial and geopolitical things. I'm putting this video out here to help educate people. So get this out to as many people as possible, and I'd be most grateful. Thank you. Finally, if you do want more information, or there's some other videos you might want to watch, which will show you some information about the long-term cycles in markets and where we're at the moment, these are some links here. You can get hold of us through the Market Timing Report, and I'll be tweeting about these things on Twitter. Follow me on that, at Andrew Pancholi. Above all, stay safe and take care, and thank you for watching this. And just assure people that we will get out of this. It's not going to be overnight, but we will get out of this safely. Thank you.